What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a movie that was released on VOD recently. And I've been doing this thing lately, and it's been kind of fun where I'll just go on Prime Video and I'll go to the rental section where it's like new releases that just came out. And I've been able to find some movies that haven't gotten theatrical releases, but that were released straight on VOD that maybe not a lot of people have talked about. And there's been some gems this year, if you've been watching my channel, that I've talked about that have just come out of looking through the VOD section. And this was one that didn't have a ton of reviews, but a lot of the reviews I read on Amazon and on Letterboxd and a couple of other places, people seem to have a lot of fun with this movie. Like I said, I knew nothing about it. I didn't even watch a trailer before I went in to watch the movie. And the film I'm going to be discussing with you today is Scream Therapy. Scream Therapy is directed by Cassie Keith. Five friends struggling in their lives head to the desert for a girls' weekend of restorative scream therapy. Their vacation takes a sharp turn when they cross paths with a cult of incels who are on a very pressing human sacrifice deadline. So as I said, I was really excited to check out this movie and see what it had to offer. And I think a lot of this movie is really fun, and the cast is really great, and it's really entertaining in moments. But unfortunately, I think the movie as a whole is very unsatisfying. I think this is clearly a director who got together a cast that has really great chemistry, and it seemed like they had a lot of fun working on the movie. But as a whole, as a fleshed out concept that's an hour and 20-minute narrative, I feel like it fails at being completely successful. And I'll talk about the high points and the low points as I break the movie down. So at the beginning of the film, we are introduced to this group of women who they're all at this party together early on. And it's one of the girl's ex-boyfriend's engagement parties, I believe. And they're all having conversations together about their friendship. And there's some comedic bits that work really well early on. And one of the main girls in the group is dating this guy. She's like overwhelmed with how much she loves him. And he makes a comment to her about, we're probably not going to get married anyway. And they've been together for like 5 years. And it completely and totally breaks her down. She is distraught and she's just so sad by the situation. And so her friends all say, let's go do a scream therapy retreat, which scream therapy is like you go out in the middle of the desert, you stay somewhere together, and you go outside, you kind of express all of your problems, and you scream as loud as you can to essentially try to get all of that out of your body. And so they all get to this desert town together. They go to this bar with all these kind of creepy guys that are there. They're approached by some of them. One of them makes like a horrible racist remark towards one of the women. And it's just clear where they are, this very strange small town. They go back to their room, and these men in white cloaks show up who are a part of a cult. And the cult takes them hostage. And the entirety of the film is these girls trying to escape these cult members who have taken them hostage at their scream therapy retreat. So as I said, I thought this movie was fun, but it didn't work for me overall. And clearly this is a passion project. This is someone who really wanted to make a movie. It's rough around the edges. You can tell that it has a lower budget. And there's a lot of fun things about this movie. I'll start with the positives. I think the chemistry of these actors is really great. I really liked a lot of the moments between them. I think there's a lot of humor that works really well. And there were some moments that I was genuinely laughing pretty hard. And I was glad about that. I feel like if you're going to watch a movie that is kind of posed as a horror comedy, that you have to make the comedy land. And there's some jokes that fall flatter than others, but I think the humor is consistent enough to bring you a chuckle, especially for the short run time. I like the overall concept. I think this group of friends kind of taking this one friend to support them through this difficult time, and like the way each one has a very distinct personality and how they fit into the friend group. I liked that. I thought there was a lot of intentionality in like selecting the personalities behind this friend group, and they were fun to watch. I really enjoyed that element of the movie. My big issue here is that the entire crux of the film and where the tension is starts at about the 30-minute mark. And the opening of the movie takes a really long time to get going to when you finally shift into plot and what is supposed to hinge all the suspense in the film. It's kind of underwhelming. The stakes feel pretty low. Like anytime the movie kind of shifts more into a violent or horror direction, it's a little less thrilling. And I feel like anytime it gets to the point where the horror could really shine through, to where you could really feel some level of genuine suspense, sense for these characters, that it's undercut by a joke. And like horror comedy is a very difficult genre to get involved in because I feel like there has to be a delicate balance there. In my opinion, the greatest horror comedy of all time is Evil Dead 2. And the reason why I think that is because while that movie has some genuinely over the top hilarious moments, when it gets to the horror part, it's horror. It constantly takes the horror seriously in a way that is genuinely unsettling. There's a scene in particular I talk about all the time where Bruce Campbell is in the cabin by himself and all of the stuff in the cabin starts laughing at him. And it truly is a horrifying sequence of a person's psyche being so incredibly damaged that they're isolated and alone in this space that it's just overwhelming them to this point. And I think what makes that movie so brilliant is the way that it delicately balances that. And there's been a ton of horror comedies over the years, and some work better than others. And I think the director's intentions here are really good, but I think you have to give that horror time to stick with you and not pull so quickly away with a comedic bit. I also think a lot of the editing in this film, like I said, the budget is really low, so I'm not going to be a stickler, but some of the editing decisions in this are really jarring. Like there'll be someone in the middle of doing something and it cuts to a completely different scene, but not in a way that feels natural. It feels like the editor was like, okay, I need to cut it somewhere, but I don't know where in this footage to exactly hit the cut. And so I'm going to just jump to the next part of the scene. And so that becomes relatively jarring after a while. It happened 3 or 4 times that it really caught me off guard. And I think that all is because, as well, a lot of those moments were when a horrific sequence was building up and then it cut to a comedic punch. And that's really what kind of made this movie fall short for me, is that by the ending, none of the horror felt like it was causing any real anxiety or causing the characters any real sense of danger. It just, to me, felt like these people hanging out, going on this trip together, and this stuff's kind of happening in a quirky, like, wow, we're kind of surprised that it's happening. And I did enjoy the ending. I think there's a lot of fun to be had with the end of the movie, and they weren't taking it too seriously. But like the fact that this went into kind of like a horror, violent angle, I just expected it to go a little bit more in that direction, and it felt a little bit too reserved for my taste. But even though this movie wasn't perfect to me, I think it's clear that the actors in this and the director had a lot of fun making this project. And I think if you're looking for an enjoyable hour and 15 minutes, you could do a lot worse than this movie. So have you seen Scream Therapy? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was fun, but it was definitely inconsistent. And by the end, I was left ultimately unsatisfied. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.